This week carries the feeling of standing at a turning point, one that doesn't announce itself loudly, but makes itself known through contrast. We're moving through the darkest days of the year, approaching the Winter Solstice and Yule, a sacred pause that has long symbolized death, rest, and the quiet return of light. And fittingly, the astrology this week asks us to sit with truth, especially in places where illusion, longing, and control have been intertwined. Welcome back to Libra Rising, where guidance from the stars meets reflections for the soul. Let's get into the astro weather for the week. Between December 20th and the 23rd, Venus forms tense squares to both Neptune and Saturn. This is delicate astrology and also deeply revealing. Venus governs our values, our relationships, and our sense of beauty, pleasure, and worth. Neptune dissolves boundaries and blurs edges. Saturn defines limits and asks for accountability. When Venus is pressed between them, we're asked some uncomfortable but necessary questions, like, where have I been romanticizing something that isn't sustainable? Where have I been holding on out of hope rather than real nourishment? And where am I confusing control with safety, or longing with truth? This energy can show up as disappointment that ultimately brings clarity, emotional fog lifting after hard truth lands, or realization that something isn't meeting us where we are anymore. And while this can feel tender, even sobering, it's not meant to punish or take away. Its purpose is refinement. Venus square Neptune exposes illusions. Venus square Saturn reveals the cost of maintaining them. Together, they help us see what's real and what's simply a familiar illusion. As we move into the winter solstice, we reach the symbolic low point of the year, the longest night, the deepest stillness. But this moment has always been honored not as an ending, but as a promise. From here, the light begins its slow return. There is no rush, no sudden brightness, just a quiet assurance that the dark has done its work. And this mirrors the Venus-Saturn-Neptune story beautifully. This is not a week for forcing clarity or demanding answers. It's a week for letting truth surface naturally, and trusting that what's falling away is making space for something more honest to grow. By the end of the week, the energy shifts. The first quarter moon in Aries acts as a pivot point. First quarter moons ask for action, but not impulsive action. They ask us to respond to what we know now and take the first steps from there. Aries brings courage, initiation, and movement, but after the emotional sorting of earlier in the week, this becomes a more conscious kind of fire. This is about choosing how you move forward, not proving strength, not rushing to regain control, but acting from clarity rather than reaction. This moon says, you don't need to dominate the moment, you need to align with it. To help us navigate the shift from inward processing to outward action, I asked the tarot to reflect the deeper patterns at play beneath this first quarter moon in Aries. This phase of the lunar cycle often brings friction, not as a problem, but as a signal that something is ready to move. So I worked with a simple 3-card framework exploring the challenge that tests us, the lesson that refines us, and the gift that becomes visible when we respond with awareness instead of force. These cards don't tell us what to do. They help us understand how to move in a way that's aligned with both the season and our inner truth. The Emperor shows us where control can become rigid. As a challenge, this card warns us against over-managing outcomes, forcing decisions prematurely, and mistaking authority for security. Under Aries energy, the temptation can be to take charge just to feel steady again, especially after emotional uncertainty. But this Emperor reminds us, control doesn't equal confidence, and strength doesn't require domination. This week's challenge is noticing where we're trying to command life, instead of listening to what it's already trying to show us. The Three of Wands teaches us patience and perspective. This card asks us to trust the unfolding, to understand that momentum doesn't always mean immediacy. You may sense that something is coming together, but isn't fully visible yet. the lesson here is allowance. Not waiting passively, but standing in readiness without gripping the timeline. This card says, hold the vision. Let the horizon meet you halfway. As the gift, the Empress reversed is subtle and deeply wise. She doesn't take comfort away, she refines it. This card brings awareness. Where am I pouring energy into something that isn't nourishing me? Where have I confused growth with obligation? The gift here is discernment. Discomfort becomes guidance. Frustration becomes information. Creative blocks point us away from what drains us and towards what actually wants to grow. The Empress reversed offers a quiet gift, clarity about what is and isn't supportive, so our creative energy can be redirected towards what truly sustains us. Together, the cards tell a clear story. The Emperor warns against forcing control. The Three of Wands teaches patience with the unfolding. And the Empress reversed offers discernment about where our energy is best placed. Under the first quarter moon, growth comes not from pushing harder, but from choosing more honestly. As I've been sitting with the astrology and the cards for this coming week, I've noticed something a little surprising in my own inner world that I'd like to share in this week's Reflections from a Highly Sensitive Soul. Last week was hard, heavy, uncomfortable in ways that asked for real presence, not solutions, not bypassing, not forcing myself into optimism before I was ready. And instead of trying to rush through, I chose to stay with what was true, to soften rather than push, to meet myself with alignment instead of effort. And quietly, almost without me noticing, something shifted. This week, I feel more balanced, more clear, and more productive in a way that doesn't cost me my body, my peace, or my sense of steadiness. I'm moving forward, checking things off, creating, tending to responsibilities, but without the familiar edge of urgency or self-pressure. It feels less like proving something, and more like cooperating with the moment that I'm in. What's striking to me is that this sense of momentum didn't come from forcing action. It came from doing the inner work first, from letting last week's discomfort do its refining. And it reminds me that even as we approach the darkest night of the year, growth doesn't stop, light doesn't disappear, it just moves differently. There are seasons when our energy blooms quietly, internally, before it shows up in a visible way. And there are moments, even in the dead of winter, when something within us feels unexpectedly alive, capable, and ready to move. This feels like one of those moments for me. As we approach the first quarter moon in Aries, I'm aware that this energy could easily tip into overdoing it, into capitalizing on momentum, into pushing seedlings to grow faster than they're meant to. But the astrology, and my own experience, is reminding me that aligned action doesn't need force. It needs discernment. It needs nourishment. It needs respect for timing on the universe's terms. So my intention moving forward isn't to chase this energy or cling to it. It's to tend to it. To keep choosing actions that support growth rather than block it. To remember that the work I do now is not just for today. It's for the version of me that will meet the next turning point with roots already in place. If you're noticing a similar contrast, coming out of a difficult stretch into a pocket of clarity, motivation, or balance, I hope you'll let yourself receive without pressure. You don't have to rush. You don't have to make it mean anything yet. You don't have to force the next step. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is recognize this is growth and allow it to unfold in its own season. For your own further reflection, consider the following prompts for journaling or meditation this week. You might want to focus on these as an invitation rather than an assignment, aimed more at gentle exploration rather than rigid definition. First, where am I being asked to listen more closely right now, internally or externally? Next, what truth is surfacing that doesn't need fixing, only witnessing? And What small, practical choice could help me stay in balance this week? Body, mind, and spirit. Take your time with these, and remember that you don't need all the answers today. As an anchor to help you stay aligned this week, consider keeping the following mantra in mind. I let go of fear that winter means stagnation, and I hold faith that growth continues quietly, even in the dark. As this week unfolds, remember that balance isn't something that you achieve once and hold forever. It's something you return to again and again with compassion. Let yourself move slowly where you need to, act clearly where you can, and rest when the body or spirit asks. Thank you for spending this time with me and for tuning into this week's Libra Rising forecast. If these insights resonated, I'd love to hear how the energies are showing up for you. Feel free to share your reflections or intentions in the comments. If you'd like more astrology, tarot, and soul-centered guidance each week, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me here next Sunday as we continue this journey together. Until next time, may you move in alignment, may your growth be guided, and may this season meet you with steadiness and grace. I'll see you next week.